like the pinky.
You ever thought about you ever like ever thought about like writing a story with her as a superhero if she was
Uh,
still alive?
that was the reason we made this. I
Oh,
I wanted to introduce her to the public as an actress, so she would star in the Iron Maiden. That was going to be my next film, starring her. It was
what was the Iron Maiden about?
it was one of those Conan-like fantasies where she was a character who, again, you've heard the story, lost the parents to a violent character, but she was specially gifted because she was born with a certain amount of physical strength, and then to make up for the loss of her family, the gods sent her to a particular lake where, like, I guess it was Achilles, just like Achilles, she would go into it, and then that would make her body invulnerable. Then she became like this one-woman army. It was just wiping out people. It was a neat little script. I may still film it one day.
Kind of like, you remember the movie with Stu Price, the
oh yeah, I remember those. Oh gosh, what are they called?
God, I remember them because I actually interviewed Sue Price, and when she's a great lady. She still lives in California. She works in the Postal Service, and
I did a video of her for Biltmore Productions. Yeah, she's sweet.
Yeah. She had a couple of kids. They already out of college, I believe. They're twins. And she was married to Dave Fisher, and I think Dave has a gym somewhere. I think in Venice Beach still.
Wow, I miss this.
Yeah. Like I said, there was a lot of amazing women back then. When there was content, I've interviewed people like Rhonda Lee Charisma, and Nancy Lewis. And,
Nancy, yeah, I worked with her too. She's great.
Yeah, because she lives still in Florida. She runs a little animal shelter. She's a great lady. We still keep in contact as often as we can. Nice. I mean, she had one of those great physiques that I think should have been to Olympia. Should have won a few shows during her career. Maybe, I don't know, to keep changing the criteria. You don't want to.
George, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
If between Nancy Lewis or Andrea, who would you pick for a date?
Why you have to ask that question?
I'm just saying. Like, I'm just saying. What if she don't? What if Andrea don't work out?
Huh?
What if Andrea don't work out?
Well, it doesn't work out.
You have a backup plan.
Well, I think some women don't want to be called
busting your balls, man. Just busting your balls.
Yeah. Don't wear no robes in your interviews.
That was just one time. That was one time. Like it was one time, bro. She wasn't complaining.
I was.
I'd love to meet Andrea one day.
Me too. I'm honestly would love to. I think she has a great look, great physique. I mean, she's the one I will actually say women's bodybuilding right now.
You know who she reminds me of? She reminds me of that superstar gymnast. I forgot, Simone.
She looks more closer
to. She do. She do look like her a little bit.
She looks more closer to Andrea Harris White.
I remember her. That's the bodybuilder.
Yeah,
I remember her.
Face and the jawline they just look like they could be some kin.
Wow. Okay, I never really thought about that. I'm gonna have to take another look.
Yeah, I think I got a picture somewhere I took, and I made a split one. I'll send it to KL later, and you can look at it, see your thoughts on it. It's somewhere in my file somewhere. I took a split, and I took a picture of Andrea and Audrey and put it together.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow, that's a deal.
What did I just say? Ah, shit. are divided in their opinion as to whether the talisman was destroyed to neutralize the evil demon, or it is still actively suppressing the demon's evil power.
Now, how you come up with all this with the explanation and the talisman and all that stuff?
Uh, I'm just a horror movie freak. I read all this stuff and just pick little things from them and throw them all together in the same mash, just like most people. Because one thing that used to scare me, The Omen's one of my favorite movies. They used to have, I remember they were having problems during the filming of that. Same with Rosemary's Baby. So I learned to make up occult stuff. I didn't want to mess with anything real.
Versus fucking demons. I've seen everything. You haven't seen me yet. Get the hell out of my place. Oh no. We have this.
Oh, that's a prop from Predator, by the way.
A prop from Predator?
From the movie Predator, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I had friends at Fox.
Now, was she a fighter, or like she knew like some martial arts or anything like that, or they just like, oh yeah?
She she first started getting into it when she was in the National Guard, and then when I started working with her, she would get training, martial arts training from bodyguards, and that's what. When I told her that I knew Eric Lee, I said, "Oh, I got to get you two together," and then they started training. So yeah, she was very capable.
Yeah, she seemed like she had potential to be an action hero.
Oh yeah, that's what we were going for.
Kind of sucks, huh? Well, you know, I don't know if I want to play the whole thing.
Yeah.
But I watched the rest.
Yeah, it's kind of embarrassing to me. It's kind of embarrassing to me. I have the same. I go through this. I know I'm putting myself in a whole different class, but one of the seminars I got to instructed in my film school was on the making of certain movies, and we did a thing on the making of Star Trek: The Motion Picture when it came out. That movie was never finished when it premiered. That's why it was so boring. And I always say that about this movie, because when we started marketing it, it was never finished because there was no money to finish the thing. I was like trying to piece it together in my room when I didn't even have an editing room, an official editing room, hanging up strips of film on coat hangers and crap. But I managed to get something put together so we could take it to the film market. It got screened to the film market, and somebody distributed it in a few countries, but it was never finished. And I was always really paranoid about that. I want people to see it the way I intended.
And what was this, like a Star Trek? I didn't get everything. You said a Star Trek A version of Star Trek, you said?
I was comparing it to the original Star Trek the motion picture because it was so rushed. It was released without being finished, and that's why it didn't do as well as it did. And they kept redoing it, and I think they finally finished it 3 years ago. Finally got the complete movie done with all the special effects they are actually intended. And, I would look at that and I'd say, okay, if they could do that to Star Trek, I'm going to try and do that for mine. I still have at least a master digibeta copy. I don't have anything else, but at least I know more about video and digital technology than I did all those years ago. And I'm going to try and fix it the way I originally intended. I want people to see it the way it was originally intended. I mean, a lot of the movements, a lot of things that were supposed to be going on, they were supposed to be animated effects for those. A lot of crazy, wild things. And the person we hired to do it eventually only had enough time, and we only had enough money to pay for a few little things. So now anybody can do it on their computer. So that's what I'm about now.
If you could go back in time, like, what would you say you would have done better?
I would have trimmed a few things, speeded up a few things, and like I said, added a lot more of the special effects I really wanted, and mix it. Again, we were in a rush, and I'm kind of embarrassed by it, but I'm just glad we got it done.
Yeah.
If you had like a $300,000 budget, what do you think you would have been able to do with that if you had that back then?
It would look 10 times better. Because I was raised doing a lot with very little, and we knew where to put the money, and everyone was so willing. We could have made that look so much better. I would have had another camera, a different camera, not the clunky thing we had. I would have been able to rent an editing room to work on it continuously instead of renting it for a couple of days. I even had to edit parts of this at my film school. I purposely took an LACC film editing class so that I could bring that film into the class and finish editing it. I mean, it was crazy. That idea, in fact, was given to me by John Milius at our film school. He would tell people in his class, go to LACC. You can use their equipment for free, which is basically what I did.
Well, so you did a lot with what little you had. I know everybody wants to do more, and then I think this is something that I think people, Hollywood needs to see that. I think you gave opportunity to someone like Kay, and most directors and producers don't want to give opportunity to women with muscle that's a bodybuilder. They want to give it to. If you look at the movies now, they want to get like Gal Gadot. I liked her as Wonder Woman, but I had a friend of mine. She said she was even told that she looked more like Wonder Woman because she was taller. She had more physique for it, basically closer to the comics.
And she was in the Israeli army, so she had a little cred.
And it'd be great to see more people giving opportunities to women like someone like Kay or remember Corey Everson. She did a few movies here and there, and there was the late Johnny Bowen and Kate Chandler, but she wasn't really she was a bodybuilder, but not competitive. And and only if you think about bodybuilding, you think about any people that's from bodybuilding that's actors are Lou Ferrigno and Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's the two people, the Incredible Hulk and Conan.
Now, one of the things. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go finish.
I was going to say one of the things that I find really funny, which is when Arnold started his career, who I met a few times, by the way. You can't help but run into him if you're hanging around Venice and Bulls all the time. But his career was what I wanted for Kay. This is an interesting thing. Arnold himself knew that the only way he'd be accepted, as big and as huge as he is, the character had to be something that was way beyond anything human. Conan was kind of human, but it worked because Conan is Conan. But he knew when the Terminator came along, I mean, Cameron wanted him to play Reese. But Arnold said, no, I want to play the Terminator because that's such an outrageous character, the audience would accept him. It's like, oh, look how huge he is.
Yeah.
But you know, I can accept.
I heard
it.
O.J. Simpson had the role. He was going to do that role, but I don't know what happened.
I think maybe it was around the time when he was already doing other movie stuff. I think was it? Well, he wasn't doing movies by that time. He did the Naked Gun like about a few years later. He was doing some other movies early before that. It would have been fun to see Michael Biehn playing the Terminator.
Yeah,
it's kind of like if one of my favorite movies is the whole Dark Knight Batman trilogy. Murphy Killian was he auditioned for the role of Bruce Wayne Batman, but they just couldn't see him as that. So the role was offered to Christian Bale, and to me that was a good choice. I mean, Murphy Killian's good friends with Chris Nolan because he does so many movies like Obsession and other movies with him. So it went with Christian Bale, and I think to me that was the best choice.
Oh yeah,
there's been so many movies where this actor, like I think they really remember there was always a story that they wanted Burt Reynolds to play James Bond.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I just couldn't see it. You'd be like, he just nah.
Hey,
what you said? Who? That's James Bond.
Burt Reynolds.
Yeah,
Burt Reynolds.
Burt Reynolds. Oh.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I remember way back when they were casting Superman. The Salkinds didn't know who Superman really was. They bought the property, but they wanted to cast Muhammad Ali as Superman.
Oh no!
Yeah,
actually, remember he fought Superman.
Yeah, exactly. I have that comic too, and in a hard mount.
It just because remember when they were going to do Nicolas Cage when Tim Burton was going to do his version of Superman. They wanted Nicolas Cage. But actually, they had that little. If you watch that Flash movie, you have a little, But to me,
the funny thing about that is he's fighting a giant spider. Do you know the story about the spider?
No, what about the spider?
Okay. When the producer of Tim Burton's Superman got Kevin Smith to write a script, he said, "There's one thing I really want in it. I want Superman to fight a giant spider in the third act." And he was like, "That's stupid." But later, when that same producer produced the Wild Wild West with Will Smith, the stupid spider ended up in the end of the movie.
I think that was supposed to be Brainiac or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's what Kevin Smith wanted. He wanted Brainiac. Yeah.
Me, I like Will Smith, but I felt like Wild Wild West would have been better if they went with Val Kilmer and Jim Carrey. I think
because they had to retailor the part to make it funny for Will Smith's sense of humor, and it wasn't James West. I didn't like westerns growing up, but I liked Wild Wild West. I would watch that show.
I love watching show. I think Robert Conrad was great. Jim West. I feel like I can see Val Kilmer play him because Doc Holliday, the Tombstone. And, he can carry it off. And Kevin Kline, he's a good actor, but he's not a comedian. I think when he just did Batman, I think the year before, I think that they would have paired better. Because Jim can do multiple characters and he can wear disguises like that, and it will work better. But I think it's Barry Seinfeld because of Men in Black. I thought, okay, we'll make a lot of movies because we did good with Men in Black, but that's a different genre. That was basically this is like they could have just, I don't know, maybe just me just remembering the old show, and maybe I'm trying like how they would say you racists were saying that. No, I'm not. I'm saying that I like Will Smith, but this was not his movie. He just couldn't really carry it. It just when they needed a name brand, it just didn't work.
Yeah, and Barry had worked with him before, so it's like, okay, I'll hire Will Smith and make him. But that was also the period when, this is what I find really funny. For some reason, there were a lot of Hollywood studios were taking old TV shows and turning them into movies, but they were making them comedies, and they all bombed. Starsky and Hutch bombed. Wild Wild West bombed. But you take The Fugitive, look at that. They played that straight. That was
I like Starsky. David Soul passed away about a couple months ago. So that's his only left. David Soul, remember he was Yeah, he was Starsky. He was Hutch. He was Hutch. And Peter Paul what's-face still around. I think he's still alive. But yeah, it was just Owen Wilson, and I kind of liked it. Actually, I think I kind of liked that Starsky Hutch. I liked it. Because I remember watching some of the.
He also did that to I Spy, if I remember, with Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah,
That was
Maybe that's the one I'm really
Oh
thinking.
yeah,
of.
I remember. I just say see that.
Owen Wilson, Eddie Murphy. That was Sergeant Hudson was good. I Spy, no, they could have. I like Eddie. I think that was the time when Eddie was like, right after a little before Pluto Nash, and he just kind of his movies career kind of like he was just, he was having that all those extended livers after 20 years, or less, their career started really to fall off. Like Chevy Chase and Bill Murray kind of popped back up a little better now. Did some moves here and the Ghostbusters. Yeah. But the rest of them, after a while, it just hits that kind of like Mike Myers. He kept doing he did Shrek or he did Austin Powers.
Mm-hmm. And then he tried the Guru, and that really.
Oh no, that was
It's like they didn't evolve. They should have evolved, but they didn't. They kept trying to do the same old bits, and you get tired of that after a while.
Yeah. I think they wanted to do a movie version of his character Dita from Sparks. Remember Sparks? He's like, yes, I'm Dita. Let's all get the dance. They want to do a movie version of that. I think they said they wanted to do, but it didn't happen.
Thank goodness.
I think what it did was they took and used Dr. Evil for the idea of Dieter. I believe, it's just what it is that you remember they even did that Pat had a movie, and
talk about wringing blood from a stone. They tried to get everything out of everything, and
Coneheads, that Pat, remember there's new network called Me TV, Toon TV, which showing the old show to have Ed Grimley on there.